Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of DRP Between The Sets. I am one of your co-hosts, Kyle. We are sitting here with our first guest, our first official guest, Caroline.
So honored.
It's an honor to have you. As always, we have Donald and Darci here as well. Before we get into it too much, as a reminder to everyone at home, this is a podcast aimed towards educating, motivating, and inspiring the next generation of athletes, maybe middle-aged individuals who are looking to continue upon a healthy lifestyle or get into one. Maybe some more experienced individuals who are looking to also continue upon a healthy lifestyle, because it's never too late to pursue your health and fitness goals. Like I already mentioned, we have a guest here. You want to tell us just a little bit about yourself, who you are, your background, and
Definitely. So my name is Caroline. I'm a registered dietitian. A little bit about me. I'm a former athlete and a former synchronized swimmer. And for those of you guys who don't know what synchronized swimming is, I always say it's a combination of gymnastics, swimming, and dancing. But with the dancing, you're swimming for 4 minutes. And just imagine yourself holding your breath, hitting your max heart rate while throwing people up in the air and swimming just for a very long time. It's exhausting and it's very exhilarating at the same time. But for the whole college life of my experience, I mean, I identified myself so much for being an athlete and being a synchronized swimmer. So to be able to transition outside of sport and now be a registered dietitian to help people transform their lives outside of sports, to help them feel good and feel energized, is just one of my huge passions.
Oh, that is nice. So how do you know you can be good at synchronized swimming? Because I watch some YouTube videos. I'm like, okay, it's like one of those skill sets when some people do some things and you're like, how do you know you are actually good at that? Like, what got you into synchronized swimming?
Practice makes you good for sure, but I started when I was 6, and 20 years, obviously, lots of practice getting into it. And outside of school, before practice, after practice, I mean, it was just the constant hustle of that was my hustle, that was my sport, and that's who I identified myself as so much. So just to be able to be at that top, to be recruited at The Ohio State University, D1 athlete, we won 2-time national championships during my time too. So
awesome.
I think
cool.
that kind of explains itself too.
That's cool. That is cool. And 2-time national champion. Like, what was that like? Just knowing, like, okay, we just brought home the big W. Like,
it was unbelievable. Of course, when we think about college, we think about college football. People don't really think about synchronized swimming, but to be at a sport where you are part of that kind of athletic experience was so unbelievable. And then to bring home the natty champs and to get those rings, I mean, they're really awesome. It was a really fun experience.
Are you a good gymnast and a good dancer as well, or just a good swimmer? Like,
I'm
just curious.
I am terrible on land. Like, on flat land, I would just
So she's a
fall.
mermaid.
Yeah.
Mermaid.
So
Mermaid.
naturally, I'm good in the water, but on land, not so much.
I like to say the guys know I've been swimming for about a year now. So
Like, Donald couldn't swim.
I could not
Blows me
swim.
away.
Yeah.
I was not a good swimmer.
What do you want? You're a manatee, right?
Yeah, I'm a manatee. We're called it's
manatee
like,
for life.
Yeah, it's like manatee, and then you got like 2 other notches.
But what's
like,
impressive is you put the effort in. Like, you
Yeah.
have learned how to swim
Yeah.
as like a grown adult, which I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
it
will
was
give you that.
mind blowing. Like, me going there and I'm thinking like, oh yeah, it's just everybody was doing like some workouts in there, and they're like, all right, we're gonna warm up with like an 800 meter, and I'm like, it's 25 meters. I'm like, I can barely make it down and back. Like, a warm up. I'm like, I was dying.
And you're out of
in
breath.
there.
You're gassed. You're
Yeah,
like,
I was gassed. I had no idea the
Yeah.
techniques it takes to actually swim. It was unbelievable. It was such a like humbling.
But maybe
moment-
you'd be really
moment.
good at synchronized swimming. Like, you can dance.
I can
you should
dance.
try it
right?
out.
I appreciate you said that, Darci. You see my
I'm in a
true
nice
skills.
mood today.
You see my true skills right there. Yeah. So finished off at Ohio State. What kind of what was your transition going into a registered dietitian now?
It was, not going to lie, the toughest transition from knowing anything and everything from being a sport to then having nothing at all outside of sport was such a huge transition. But I'm so grateful to have the mentors to kind of help me through those transitions because, again, we identify ourselves so much as that athlete. We're going to the Olympics. We're doing this to then going into a career in your future. And that was a really difficult time, but it was also so exhilarating because one of my first jobs, I worked at an eating disorder facility. And so it was really cool to help people heal their relationship with food and make them feel confident and just having good energy without those rigid rules. Because for so long, I've seen my teammates, myself, go through such terrible behaviors in college that you would think nutrition is black and white. There's a yes, there's a no, there's a secret to health. And for so long, I wanted to look into what that secret was in college, trying to figure out what's that secret to weight loss, what's that secret to feeling good. But I definitely learned that there is no secret. There's no magic pill where you're gonna need to take that to make you lose weight immediately, but it's actually lifestyle and building something that's sustainable to build those habits and the life that you want.
Is that what you went to college, like knowing you wanted to do, or did that like transition? Like none of us really do
Yeah.
that, but was that really what you wanted to do in college?
Definitely not. I was pre-med. I changed my major
wow.
so many times, but it's huge, yeah. And I changed my major, but the goal was pre-med, and I was taking all these really intense classes. But when I was in college, I actually hit rock bottom, and there was a semester where I failed all my classes. And I didn't realize, like, what the heck? Why did I fail all my classes? What's going on? And my coaches, they came to me and they're like, you're bringing the team down. You need to go sort your life out. But they didn't ask me how I was doing. They just kind of left it for me to figure it out. And that was kind of my aha moment of, whoa, there's way more to life than just sports, for sure. But nobody asked me how my mental health was, how I was fueling myself. And now kind of being able to zoom out and seeing that past self, I was having signs of undernourishment where I was losing hair. And I was feeling tired. I was constantly exhausted. I was taking naps way too long. And I lost my menstrual cycle. And I was constantly getting sick. And those were huge keys that I didn't realize at that time were keys that I was underfueling until I was kind of out of that zone, out of that sport for some time to then focus on myself, meet with a therapist, meet with a dietitian. That transformed my life.
Wow.
Was there ever a point like in your like college career, like where you like commented to other athletes that you were training with that were having the same thing? So for you, that was just normal, or was it like not happening to anybody else and you were like the oddball?
It was something that we didn't really talk about, but we always said was we were miserable. And that was just kind of the environment. We were just miserable, and we had to suck it up and fake it until we made it.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of the lifestyle we had to cultivate for ourselves. Again, in being in such a intense morning practice, waking up at like 5 a.m. to go to our 6 a.m. practices. They were even doing like measuring our fat, pinching our fat on our skin. And they were telling us, they told me if I didn't lose weight, then I wouldn't make the cut for the team.
Yeah.
And so I tied those beliefs to myself, to my worth of my body, my worth of, my performance. And it wasn't good enough if I wasn't skinny, if I wasn't in a smaller body.
Did they just tell you that and say figure it out, or did they like give you access to nutritionists, dietitians?
They
like,
definitely,
did they have you on a strict like eating cycle?
No,
or was it, oh wow.
No, yeah. So being at a good college background with the athletics and being a student athlete, they have resources there, which is fabulous. But the coaches there were just like, all right, these are your resources. It's your job to reach out to them. You figure it out. And then they just kind of cut me off for that year. And I felt kind of like the black sheep during that year.
Yeah,
and it was
that's
the
insane.
toughest.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? Nobody was checking in on me mentally. I'm so glad I met with a therapist. I had a mentor during that time. He was like, what are you doing? Like, what do you want to do with your life? I'm like, I have to figure out what I want to do for the rest of my life? That's
Right now?
impossible.
That's a lot.
Which I always thought was pretty, it was always so difficult because I'm like, well, I'm crammed with, tutoring and classes and practice and weight room. And then now I got to worry about nutrition. I'm like, I don't even have time to think about what it is that, I want to do or I want to be. So it's like, well, somebody help me. Like, I have all these resources, but who do I go to and why am I going to them? Like, give me something to actually understand. Like, here's your why. like these are some of the steps that you can go through and go talk to these people,
Yeah.
not just figure it out, because then at that point
Yeah.
I'm just going to go right back to what's
Right.
my routine. My routine is to wake up at 5 and go to and then you try to figure it out once it's all done.
Yeah.
Then when it's all done, you're like, okay, who the heck am I really?
Yeah.
Like that's
What's
it's always
your purpose?
Yeah, it's always a tough battle. That's one of the
Yeah.
things I struggle with too as well. So it's interesting hearing from you, even from a different sport, that it's
Yeah.
like we all go through the same issues.
And I know, and I'm always so grateful for the experience and going through college, because it was all fun, but at the same time, I did learn a lot. But I wouldn't be here today either if I didn't go through those struggles.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for that dietitian that I met with. She helped build that foundation for me in understanding just the basics of nutrition and rebuild that framework to a better life for me. And that really, really transformed just my whole outtake on nutrition. And so that's when I changed my major into wanting to be a dietitian. All for the wrong reasons during that time, but definitely I wanted control back in my life. And I knew the only way to get control was to be a dietitian, to learn that secret.
Yeah.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So, oh, go ahead.
No, so now that you get to the point where you finish and you become a dietitian, like what, from your first client or your first patient, like what would some of the advice that did you put or tell them more of advice for yourself that you've been going through in your experience, or was it something that you thought could have been better for that patient or client? Like what was that first client or patient like?
Definitely a combination of both. So I definitely use my own personal experiences going through the counseling of eating disorders, which was a whole different ballgame, to helping them heal their relationship with food and their body and not create this rigidity around food. And what they were doing, like, I had experienced that just without being diagnosed of an eating disorder. And they were orthorexic, they were measuring their food, they were so scared of just eating a whole banana. All they wanted to do was just eat salads, no carbs, and they would skip meals. I even remember in college I would Google how to eat 1,200 calories or less. And these people would beat the same thing. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't eat more than 1,200 calories. Little did they know, and little did I know when I was younger, that 1,200 calories is for a toddler, for a kid.
Yes.
And it's just impossible. Like, it amazes me to see all the lies that you hear on social media and the diets that they tell you need to eat, because it's not personalized. And so I definitely use my own tools and what I've learned in my own experiences and observations with helping clients heal the relationship with food, but helping them find that balance within their life is the most important part.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is it tough for you seeing like some of the people on social media, like they're promoting their 6-pack abs, you know, they have such a huge following, and you see them creating these diet or these meal plans, like what's the struggle between being a dietitian and then dealing with some of the social media effect of, you know, influencers, or them saying like I'm a certified nutritionist, when you really look at their background, you're like, no, you just have abs.
Yeah, it's so tough and so frustrating, but I also use that platform to then be the difference and find that barrier and be the gap where, yes, there are influencers telling you need to eat X amount of calories, but at the same time, when I work with my clients, they've hit rock bottom. They are just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's wrong. I'm not performing. I'm feeling tired. What's wrong with me? I'm broken. And we go through this assessment, and I ask them, well, what do you feel like has been going on? I've tried this diet and this diet. The problem is they think that they've failed and they have no willpower, but it's the diet that's really failed them. And so we have to kind of unlearn everything that they've learned throughout the years. Say they're coming at 25 and they've learned things. They have 20, 25 years of unlearning, most likely 20 years of unlearning from carbs are bad, I can't eat carbs. And I would ask them, well, where did you hear that? And they're like, oh, well, my mom. Oh, okay. Well, where did your mom hear that? Oh, online from Oprah or just from some influencer. And they said that when you eat carbs, your stomach expands, so you can't have carbs. And I was like,
Such a crazy thought process.
Yeah. And so I love being that detective with my clients to be like, okay, well, where did you learn this? Why did you learn? Like, is this important to you? Do you think?
Do you really believe it?
Yeah,
do you really
where are the
believe
facts?
this?
Some of those conversations have to be really tough too, because again, like you said, you're breaking down 25, like
Yeah.
probably a whole lifetime's
Yeah.
worth of misinformation that, like, do you ever have clients that just get stubborn, put your foot down, and they're like, no, like this is
100%.
what I've heard.
This is what I know.
I know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get work around that?
Eventually they learn to build that trust.
Yeah.
But until they trust the process, they're going to go through that cycle until they kind of hit that rock bottom again. Well, nothing's working. What am I doing wrong? Well, let's kind of rethink what we've been working on. What have you been working on? Have you made any changes? Where are the limiting beliefs and the barriers from there? Oh, well, I know you tell me I need to eat more color, but color and vegetables, that's gross. Why would I do that? Okay, well,
Like me.
let's incorporate color for feeling good. Yeah.
Do you find a lot of clients come to you like ready to change, or do you have to be that like assisting changing factor? Like, are they ready? Like, we have a lot of clients that come to the gym, they're not ready to change. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not until they want to change that, not that our job gets easier, but we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Like, do you get the same thing with your clients?
Most
Like,
of them are ready to change, but they have a little bit of hesitation.
Okay.
And that hesitation is coming from, the myths they've heard from their parents or from influencers that they come and they're like, well, so-and-so said this, so why can't I do this? Well, are you also training the amount they're training, or is your lifestyle identical as them? No, you can't. Even if you eat the same amount and you sleep and you train the same amount as whatever influencer or trainer, you're still not going to look like them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I always feel like I joke with my clients a lot about this. Like down here in South Florida, I always feel like it's hard to maintain such a healthy balance just because, every day is hot, every day is sunny. We have everything from meatball Mondays and taco Tuesdays and wine Wednesdays. Like it's something going on every single day outdoors. And we never have to worry about snow or anything. So everything
Yeah.
is just on the water, just enjoying yourself, having fun. So like, what is for anybody who is trying to change like their meal plan or their diet, do you also recommend like the household, like changing the plan too as well? Because I always find that's extremely tough. Like me and my wife, I'll say I want to change, but if she's in there cooking like, some kind of meal like some spaghetti or something, I'm like, maybe I can just get a little
Yeah.
snack here and there and just indulge. And then all of a sudden it's like I completely I'm like, okay, I'm going back to my old habits.
Right. So a lot of people hold food on a high pedestal. Good food, bad food. I can't have candy, cookies, pasta. They're
Yeah.
bad. And so one thing I do want to know is that 2/3 of every diets, they fail. And people, time and time again, they still want to try to diet because they think it's the way to health. There's so much more to health than just fitness and nutrition, and it is your environment. And I always try to put it as like you are that flower, and your environment is so, so important in how you nurture it and you self-care it. You got to focus on your stress management. You have to focus on your self-care, getting into a routine that's going to work for you, and being able to fit all types of foods. And it's funny because every time I tell my clients that, yes, you can have all types of foods, they're like, oh my gosh, all you want me to do is eat donuts. That's it.
It's always the extremes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not black and white. It's really not. There's a lot of that gray area. And what happens, and the reason why diets don't work in general, is because say you weigh yourself and you tie your worth to your weight. Well, next thing is you want to go on a diet. And then you restrict whatever bad food you think of, cookies, carbs, pasta. And then you forget about it. You're eating good and healthy with those whatever good foods you consider good. But then something happens and something comes up. And then all of a sudden you lose that willpower and life happens and you're like, screw it. Let me just eat a whole box of cookies. When the reality is, if you don't have the good food, bad food on a pedestal, you don't have that reaction of feeling like you need to overeat, because it's like me telling you guys, well, don't push that red button. You're going to want to push that red button.
Me and Cal got to push the red button.
And it's cool that you say that too, because we have a lot of those conversations with our clients in the fitness realm as well. Like people who want to start making changes, who, wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be like the biggest, fastest, strongest version of myself. They want to work out, 7 days a week, not take a rest. And it's like, no, you got to be sustainable.
Yep.
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how hard you work out for the next 3 weeks. If, something goes awry and you end up giving it up because it's too hard. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It sounds like
It's the
you
same.
have to make it sustainable. What are some ways, so since it's, it's not black and white, I guess, how do you program in, for lack of a better term, like eating donuts or eating sugar, and having that in a way that's coachable and not telling someone, okay, just go eat donuts and you'll be fine?
Yeah. So a big approach in what I do is called intuitive eating, where we practice building trust with yourself, trust with your hunger cues and your fullness cues, and knowing what foods make you feel good and doing that for your health, called gentle nutrition. And gentle nutrition is still having, your complex carbs, your fruits and your vegetables, your whole grain, your oatmeal, but also still having your fun foods, because food is so much more than just fuel. It's social, it's cultural, it's emotional, it's so much more that we have to kind of see that gray area. But until you don't get that opening and understanding of it, of course it's going to just be like, just tell me what to do, yes or no.
When do you think it's a good time to start like paying attention, but not like, we have a lot of athletes in here. We have young kids at home, when do you start? Like, but then in a way to not teach it like food is fuel. There's no goods and bads. Like, I have a young daughter, I want food to be a positive in her life, but I obviously, culture healthy meals and like pay attention to that stuff. But then our athletes in here as well, like they have to know the difference between running out of here and wanting donuts on the drive home, or they need a healthy meal. Like, when do you start? Like, and how do you start?
As soon as possible. When we're babies, we are born intuitive eaters. When we cry, we're hungry. When they want food, when they're tired, they tell you, right? So we have to rebuild that trust with ourselves. And the thing is, diets break that. So you don't really know when to start. You don't trust yourself. How much is too much? But if you can start at a young age and you don't have to, again, hold the food on a pedestal, it makes it so much easier. So kids love relatability. If they're young and they want to be like a superhero or their princess or whatever it is that they admire, having them think about, well, do you want to run like Superman or Batman? And having them relate to that. Yeah, I want to be strong. I want to feel good. I want to feel energized. And then cultivating that with color. Having color. What color do you want to try today? And giving them the empower, as opposed to saying, this is what you're going to eat, giving them the options. Do you want to try something red today, or do you want to try something blue? And then having those options will empower them in the future to making those healthier options, knowing that they know what foods are going to make them feel good.
I feel like I should say that to like some of these adults. Like, what color would you like?
I was
like
just going to
that's so
say, if you want to look like Donald Russell, eat tacos.
Yeah, tacos for life, baby. Do you like tacos?
I
Like,
love
really?
tacos. The crunch of the tacos.
Okay, now we're
Yes.
talking. Now we're talking.
I'm going to start doing that with some of our clients in here. Would you rather have the kettlebell today or the dumbbell today or the barbell today?
Yeah,
Which one is it?
Yeah.
Give them choices, not all of them, because some
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, no,
some
exactly.
Of
If too much is overwhelming.
Some of them be like, yeah, I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
But I could see some of these younger athletes really taking into that, like, what football player do you want to be like? Okay, like, let's just look at their diet. Like, can you maintain it? Can you even just, like, sustain a part of it? Or is that even going too extreme? Like, is that putting us down that rabbit hole we don't want to go down
Yeah.
to?
And I always say you want to build that blueprint, that foundation. So if your house is not built on a solid foundation with a good flooring, it's going to come crumbling down. And so same thing with your nutrition, right? If you don't have the foundation, the basics of just having your proteins, your color, your carbs within your meals on a regular day, that's where you start. Because a lot of times now, people are just looking for more of a complex answer, and they want to spend the money on supplements, on all these fancy things. And that's where the skew between health and wellness is kind of breaking now, is because people are willing just to pay the extra to pay a little bit more for
waist trainers.
yeah, oh my goodness, for waist trainer.
Yeah, I like to start. Let's start some fire right now. Yeah.
Are there any supplements you would actually recommend to a client?
It's tough because, of course, there's good studies with different supplements, like protein powder and creatine powder, but the best thing is going to be food first. Always food first.
That's what we all preach.
If you're not eating consistently, if you're not eating enough to build muscle, if you're not creating that balance, then there's no way supplements are going to help you guys.
Now, speaking of supplements, so now we get into the world of, the Ozempic and is it Moderna?
Moderna.
Yep.
Moderna. So, like, how does that play a role into some of your clients or some of the people that you work with and the effects that it have on, you know, their nutrition? Like, what is it that you do for them, or you try to actually give them some advice on, hey, look, if you're going to go down this path, here's something you need to be aware of?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's always going to be my client's decision whether they do those weight loss medications or not. I'm here to give them both pros and cons when it comes to that. I really think that people are looking for that quick fix, and they just want that snap of the fingers, and this is the magic pill that I need for health. But the reality is, if you're not building the habits and the lifestyle and the routine around it, then of course you're going to go falling back. And so I always have two scenarios that I share that I've worked with both clients. So one client took Ozempic, and they weren't very successful, and they stopped training. And during this process, they lost weight, which was their goal, but they lost a lot of muscle. And they were feeling tired, and eventually they got off the Ozempic because they hit their goal weight, but then they never built the habits to keep off the weight. So what happened was they gained double, triple the weight back.
Oh, yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
And that was tough.
Yeah.
That was tough because they didn't have, again, the habits, the sustainability to keep it off. And then I have clients who decided to take it, but were just strength training. They were focusing on habits, understanding balance, routine, working out in a good way, in moderation, still having their fun foods when they can. They were able to keep off the weight. Now, you definitely don't need the weight loss medication. It's there. All my clients want to take it, but I always encourage them to try the habits on their own first.
Do you notice the people that are taking the Ozempic or any of these weight loss things are a little bit more motivated, or no? Like motivated to then make lifestyle changes, or do they think that this is the fix-all?
They think it's the fix-all. The fix-all.
That's disappointing.
The black and white there, right there.
That's the only problem I
Yeah.
have with some of those supplements or the weight loss is, I'm like, hey, you just can't take the pill and just rely on that. Like
Yeah.
you have to go out there and work just as hard or even harder now, because now when you do stop eventually, like your body needs to be ready for what you're presenting to it. So it's like, hey, look, we can take the weight loss pill. I will never stop your decision, but
Right.
let's be prepared in other areas that we're actually getting our routine, kind of like what you said, and we're getting that strength training. We're getting all those habits and those routines that we're ready for when we do stop this.
Yeah, because people are so fixated on wanting to be skinny, they forget about being strong.
Yeah.
And I even remember when I was back in college, I was working as an aide in the hospital passing out trays. And I reached my goal weight. I was happy. I was on a weight loss plan. But what I didn't realize is what cost it was going to make for me. I lost all my muscle. Lifting those trays up, my arms were shaking. And I was not used to that. And so a big thing is that we really need to address that barrier and ditching the skinny title and incorporating more feeling strong and feeling energized.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So like the weight loss pills, when we're talking about the bodybuilding world, I've done a few shows, and I knew about nutrition, and I always worked on nutrition like after college and just preparation for myself when I was working out. But when I actually jumped into the bodybuilding, it was extreme. It was down to the every single calorie, weighing your food. I mean, it was, if I almost felt like if I had a bad meal, consider it bad meal, or a taco or a cookie, I could almost see it on my body. Like the next morning, it was like I could feel myself, whether if I was holding a little bit more water or anything like that. So if you have someone who's trying to go to that extreme, like what's your advice for them? Because we've all had some clients that's like, we want to lose weight and I need to lose 20 pounds this month. And they're like, what did you do for the shows? Or they try to mimic some of those things for the shows. Like, what's some of your advice to them for that extreme dieting?
Very extreme and definitely not sustainable for the long run. But the biggest thing is, the calories are going to be a big thing right there. Now, for bodybuilding, I wouldn't say that's my expertise. I actually steer my clients away from the
it, yeah.
bodybuilding just because it's not realistic. And I've had clients coming from, intense competitions like that, and their bodies and the outcomes were so harmful.
Yeah.
And so having them regain that trust back with themselves, not to fear food and donuts and eat carbs and even GI pain. Like, it's rebuilding not just their mindset around food, but their internal organs. Like, your GI system is just so skewed that your gut health starts to die off because of the intensity of the dieting. And you get bloating, constipated, and it's just not a fun experience. Yeah, but for those seeking support within the athletic realm, the biggest thing is incorporating your protein, incorporating your carbs, and having a good balance with all foods. I always say 80% of that time really focusing on your good quality foods, and then, hey, 20% of that time you can still have your fun foods. There's no rules because, again, you won't have to put food on a pedestal.
Do you have any tips for like families who have, like I said earlier, we have a lot of young athletes in here, and we have those parents trying to fuel their kids, and they're not exactly eating the same way, but they are trying family meals and such. So, do you have any tips for families? Like, you grew up in an athletic family, I'm sure. Like, tips for traveling, tips for home things, like a little bit of everything. Like, just any general tips for families breeding athletes or not breeding.
Yeah, Darci.
I guess that's what we say sometimes.
Jesus, Darci.
Those athlete farms.
Well, vegetables as kids can be a real challenge, and that's where all the vitamins and minerals.
Kyle, eat vegetables.
I do. Why are you saying that to me? I just started.
But the best way is to sneak in those vegetables and to cut them up, chop them up, and put them in soups and stews and tacos. I love making tacos and just cutting up all your vegetables in there.
No.
And hidden, nobody knows.
On board for tacos, not on board for vegetables.
What is, like, give us some of your guilty pleasures, or I shouldn't say guilty pleasures. I should say, what is some of your go-to good foods that you enjoy? Like, what's
Fun
your top
foods.
three? What's
All
your fun
my
food?
favorite foods. All my clients would say, I mean, Caroline, you eat so many donuts and cookies and ice
yeah.
cream. Like, I don't understand. You're telling me to eat this, but there's no way. Like, I'm going to gain weight. No, I'm not eating donuts, cookies, ice cream every single day, but whenever I want it,
Yeah.
I'm going to have it.
Kyle has an important question for you.
I
Kyle.
do. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, my gosh.
This question has been floating
we've
the
been
gym
floating around.
all week long, waiting
get-
for you, anticipating.
I guess it depends how you hold it, right? If you flip it over and make it look like a sandwich.
That's a good answer, actually.
Actually, I don't think I
I've
didn't
never
think
heard
about
that.
that.
When I
answer
think of a
before.
sandwich, bread, protein, bread, right? Hot dog, it's an open sandwich.
It is
right.
But then when you
Sandwich
flip it to the
face
side,
sandwich.
yeah.
It could also be a taco, though,
It could,
technically.
definitely a taco.
Yeah, now we're talking. So, like, when we have, because we have, Darci's not a legit vegetarian, right?
I'd be considered a pescatarian.
A pescatarian. So, like, when we're talking about all those things, like vegetarian, pescatarian, keto, which I'm kind of like, and then you have, like, the Mediterranean. Like, what's some of the things? Do you lean anywhere towards, like, any of those, topics or those styles of eating, or do you just kind of stick to, like, the well-balanced diet between the carbs, the fats, proteins?
Yeah, definitely the goal is the well-balanced type of diet, but of course we can all benefit from a plant-based diet.
Say that louder, please.
And so there's so many.
Help me out, Cal.
You had me at first.
You'll never hear me say yes or no, this or that, because the goal is variety, and that's the biggest thing with nutrition is just having different food groups. There's a lot of studies on the Mediterranean diet that are very successful, and they're successful because of their fiber. And fiber is something that we don't talk about enough. We hear so much about weight loss medications, and we need protein and supplements and all this stuff, but fiber is a food source. Fiber keeps you full. It helps balance your blood sugars, and it gives you that long-lasting energy. So your fruits and your vegetables, your whole grains, your carbs, your beans, your legumes, those are good sources of fiber, and the Mediterranean is so successful because of that. Same thing with plant-based foods and plant-based diets. Fiber and plant-based proteins are really good. So just good variety. Too much of anything, I say, isn't good.
So I'm better than
Yeah.
both of you.
So you
Yes,
said.
Darcy, you are better than everyone here.
No, so and going back, not at all, Darcy. No, not at all. So going back to when you look back at when you were in college, what's some of the things that you would have done different from the knowledge that you know now? And is that any advice do you tell? I don't know if you work with any synchronized swimmers now or any swimmers that's that's in college, but what's some of the advice that you would give them now for anyone who's even watching this?
Yeah, well, I still work with athletes and college athletes, and the biggest thing is just making sure you're eating consistently. That's something that I failed to do time and time again, and I would skip meals and I wanted to have fun, and so instead of eating, I would have my calories and drinks instead, and it sent me down a really bad rabbit hole. And I even observed when I did my internships I worked at a weight loss camp, and people were fearing food. And they just wanted to be on a meal plan, but they were all on the same meal plan. Everybody, regardless of their age, their height, their everything, their weight, they were all on the same very low calorie meal plan. And I'm like, this isn't right.
Yeah.
And so everybody has an individualized approach. And that's where it's really, really important to figure out what's going to work for you. I could easily tell you guys eat eggs for breakfast, but what if you don't like eggs? So what's the point of doing eggs if you don't like eggs? Right? So the biggest thing is finding that balance and trusting yourself. Relearning to trust yourself when you're full, when you're hungry, and not relying on diets to tell you that if you're hungry, drink water, sort of thing, and ignore your hunger cues.
I know you're hungry.
Yeah.
I always get upset that, and I think I can't remember if I messaged you about it, but like eggs, for example, I could eat eggs every morning, and then I got to a certain age where it was like, okay, eggs bother like my stomach now, like stomach pains, cramps, or whatever it is, and I'm like, okay, what happened? Like that has to be, is something going on with my gut? Is it something that I need to do a cleanse? Like I always thought that was unique when I come across problems like that, or even, which we can even talk about briefly, just like alcohol now, consumption of alcohol and what it does to you.
Yeah.
And I always figured, like, even starting, me and Cal probably had this more, but alcohol consumption in college was like, oh yeah, we can have some drinks and whatever. And then you get older, you're like, ooh, I cannot, not without the headache and the stomach pain
God.
and
Did
you
the,
say drinks? I
and the
meant drink.
dehydration. S with an S on the end, drinks. But with the
10 to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, and then with like, dehydration, like that's something that, as you get older, you're like, okay, what is happening to my body?
You're really feeling it as you get older too, because your body, your gut health is changing. And when you're not eating a good variety of different plant-based foods, protein, carbs, what happens is your gut health, your bacteria within your gut starts to die off. And the consistency, if anything, your body relies on consistency. So the moment you're inconsistent or you have too much of alcohol, it destroys your gut health. And alcohol increases the amount of time you have to go to the bathroom, so you're dehydrated, you've lost your electrolytes, and it just makes the recovery process so long.
When we first started going plant-based, I swear to you, we would not eat meat because of the over-process if we were going to be drinking on the weekend. Like,
Really?
And is that a true statement that I've heard? Like, if you're going to, like, have your body over-process something, was like, if you were going to go out on the weekend, you would not eat as much of, like, a high meat diet. You would go for a more plant-based diet. And I don't know, in my head, I thought it worked. But I don't know if that's true or not.
Placebo.
Placebo
Is that
effect.
true or not true?
I would say the most important meal is the one that before you're drinking.
So eat a salad before you're drinking, you'll be good. That's what she said.
Carbs are friends.
I was
Carbs
gonna
are
say,
Carbs
carbs, because
tacos
they
are
absorb
going
the
to absorb.
alcohols.
So
If
spaghetti,
you don't,
spaghetti before.
If you don't eat proper, your carbs, your protein, you can have a little bit plant-based foods too, but your body absorbs that alcohol and it goes into your liver and it goes into your kidneys, and that's where you feel like you're going to need to go on a detox or try these like detox supplements. But again, your organs naturally do that for you, but it delays the response when you increase the amount of alcohol, and you're killing your gut health as well. So probiotic, prebiotic foods are going to be really important. Your fruits, your vegetables, your yogurts, your kefir, anything that's fermented.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, like those are all great tips. I feel
Those
like
are
we need to
great
make like a
tips.
little we need to make like a little ebook. I'm gonna make an ebook after we watch, post this video. I'm like, okay, I need to put all this out there and give it to my clients, and I need to use that for myself. So
Yeah, really, nutrition is just so simple. You don't need supplements. If you're somebody that does struggle with eating enough protein, maybe if you are a vegetarian, not a pescatarian, but you struggle eating enough protein, then maybe protein supplements will be helpful. But at the end of the day, so the diet industry is a $72 billion industry where it just makes money off of you failing.
it's big pharma. We going after
Big
big
pharma.
pharma.
Big
We gotta
Give
go.
us a couple more episodes. When we find our confidence, we're going after them all.
We're going
Yeah.
Do you know anyone high up in Big Pharma that will talk to us?
after. I feel like that'd be tricky. That'd be tricky.
They're hiding from us.
I know, right?
Well, where can people find you? I think that's there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to probably come to you and ask more questions. We'll have some questions in the comments, I'm sure. Don't forget to comment for the people at home.
Everybody comment,
But
please.
do you have like any social media you want to plug or
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Well, my website is topowellness.com, and then my social media is The Wellness Nutritionist, and I chose that specifically to redefine wellness, away from just rigid rules, just away from not just nutrition, not just fitness, but overall well-being, and to change your lifestyle, personalize, individual, and to build those habits.
And
I
you
like
do
it.
you do some tough workouts on there too. I see. Yeah.
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 You guys do work hard.
Yeah.
You guys work hard.
We'll have to do a collaboration, a group workout together.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll record it.
And that's TOPO wellness.com.
It's TAUPO Wellness.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
For those of you at home, go check them out. Any closing remarks? Anything you want to leave our audience with? I know that there's been a lot that we've talked about. So anything?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest takeaway with everything that we kind of talked about is learning to build trust again with yourself, away from the diets, and learning how certain foods make you feel good. Yeah, I can eat donuts every single day, but I'm definitely going to feel it. I'm going to have a tummy ache. I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to be able to perform my best when I do work out. And so being able to honor your health, but still having a good, healthy balance to build that foundation, to build that house that you want with the basics, and start with the basics and go from there.
Yeah. I love it.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. This has been awesome. Just break all of this down. So thank you so much. For our viewers at home, please do not forget to hit that like button. Again, go check Caroline out at topowellness.com. We'll probably throw a link or something in the description.
Yeah.
Hit that like button, hit that notification bell so you don't hit any other episodes that are going to be coming out. And until next time, keep eating tacos.
Tacos
Plants
for
aren't
life.
bad.
Tacos
Some veggies.
for
Plants
life.
aren't bad.
Tacos for life.
Tacos for life.
No
Trust
plants.
yourself.
No plants.
And
Don't listen to
donuts.
Darcy. And donuts.
Donuts.
Yeah. Red Velvet donuts from
Brussels
Jupiter
sprout
Donuts.
tacos are really good.
No
That's
comments.
infuriating.
This thing made me so mad.
The last time Donald took me for tacos, I totally got Brussels sprout tacos.
So mad
He, like,
sitting
stared
across
at
from her. I was so mad.
I think
I'm
he got
glad I wasn't
I
there.
think he got every piece of meat on the menu, like one of each.
I did gator tacos.
That's what I would. Oh, now we're talking.
Now we're talking Florida boy.
Florida boy. All right, folks. Till next time. See ya.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye.